citing regulations and other legal materials produced by federal and state governmental agencies. In brief. In important areas of the law, critical detail, authoritative interpretation, and even decisions that count as precedent are produced by governmental agencies, offices, or departments. This is true at both the federal and state level. Access to this category of legal materials and, as a consequence, their citation, has increased enormously as print distribution has been supplemented or supplanted by online dissemination. Print compilations of agency regulations in even the largest states tended to be expensive and hard to keep up to date, characteristics that confined them to very large law libraries. Now, most agency material, including not only regulations but less authoritative interpretive guidance and agency adjudications, is accessible on the Internet, most of it from public, non-fee sources. Like statutes, agency regulations are cited to codifications whenever possible. The core of a citation to a codified federal regulation consists of 3 or 4 elements. First, the title number, followed by a space. Second, capital C period, capital F period, capital R period for Code of Federal Regulations, the name of the compilation. The section number preceded by the section symbol and a space. And fourth, if necessary, the year of the compilation relied upon in parentheses. The print editions of the different titles of the Code of Federal Regulations are compiled on a staggered schedule, and as a consequence, if you are working from print or an electronic copy of the print version, the most recent compilation of one title may be different from that of another. Many electronic compilations of the Code of Federal Regulations, including one maintained by the Office of the Federal Register and the Government Printing Office called the ECFR, are compiled continuously, being kept up to date on a daily basis. The reader of a citation to provisions of a codified regulation will understand it to be referring to those provisions currently in force, unless the reference says otherwise. Clinging to print era norms, law journal citation guides still call for the routine inclusion of a date element in parentheses at the conclusion of all citations to codified regulations. The prevailing practice among judges writing opinions and lawyers submitting briefs or memoranda, however, is to furnish a date only when the cited regulation has recently changed or the citation refers to a version no longer in effect. No punctuation separates these elements, and nothing is italicized or underlined. The core of a citation to a codified state regulation consists of comparable elements adjusted to the nomenclature of the particular codification. State regulations are cited outside the state in which they apply, even more rarely than state statutes are. Consequently, while the journal citation guides call for the inclusion of an unambiguous abbreviation of the state name as part of the name of a state's codified regulations, settled usage within a majority of states leaves that to implication, just as with codified statutes. Thus, while the journal citation guides specify that Arizona regulations be cited to ARIZ period admin code in decisions of the Arizona Supreme Court and briefs submitted to it, an Arizona regulation will typically be cited to A period C period, an abbreviation easily confused with that used in Alaska for the Alaska Administrative Code, but within each state, the AAC reference is clearly understood. Federal regulations not yet codified, citations to a regulation as originally promulgated, and some agency material never to be codified are cited to the Federal Register, FED period, REG period, preceded by the name or title of the regulations or other document. Then volume number, abbreviation of the publication's name, page number, and full date in parentheses. If the regulation is to be codified in CFR, the location where it will appear or the portion it amends should, in most cases, be furnished parenthetically. State regulations not yet codified or citations to regulations as originally promulgated are cited to an equivalent publication or the originating agency's website. Agency adjudications are cited the same as judicial opinions, cases, with the following differences of detail. The Law Journal citation guides divide on whether the party name should be italicized or underlined. There's also a division on whether the cited name should be limited to that of the first private party or should, in an adversarial proceeding, include the second party, as it is with judicial opinions. There's agreement that the name should be abbreviated. In both respects, the dominant professional practice is to treat agency adjudications in the same fashion as judicial opinion party names. In some instances, an administrative proceeding will not have a party name. In that case, it should be cited using the official subject matter title. All procedural phrases are omitted, and if the procedural posture of the case is important information, it can be summarized in a parenthetical phrase following the date. The agency's official reporter is cited whenever possible. If no official reporter citation is available, the decision is cited with the agency's assigned identification number and full date, plus a parallel citation to an electronic source, an unofficial reporter or service, if possible. Finally, if the name of the agency is not adequately revealed by the name of the reporter, it should be included, abbreviated, in the parentheses ahead of the date. Citations to agency reports, published periodically in volumes, take the same form as journal articles. Citations to agency reports that are titled and disseminated separately take the same form as books by institutional authors. Where the agency numbers its reports, the practice of the Government Accountability Office, for example, that designation should be included as part of the title. The core of a citation to a federal executive order or presidential proclamation consists of 4 elements. The designation, EXEC order or proclamation, followed by a space and NO period for number. The order or proclamation number, followed by a comma and space. A citation to the Federal Register in which the order or proclamation was published. And finally, the date or year in parenthesis, the date of the Federal Register publication, not the date of the order or proclamation. 2 additional elements may be appropriate. The core elements can be preceded by the title of the order or proclamation, followed by a comma and space, and with recent documents, a parallel electronic citation may be useful. All federal executive orders and proclamations from 1993 on are accessible online. The core of a citation to a state governor's executive order or proclamation consists of comparable elements adjusted to the nomenclature of the particular compilation in which it appears, if any, preceded by the state abbreviation. The core of a citation to an advisory opinion by the U.S. Attorney General, state counterparts, and similar legal officers consists of 2 sets of elements: the name of the office issuing the opinion, abbreviated, and the abbreviation OP period. A volume and page number followed by the year, if the opinion has been published, the opinion number, if any, and full date, if it has not. 2 additional elements may be appropriate. The core elements can be preceded by the title of the opinion, followed by a comma and space, and with recent opinions, a parallel electronic citation may be useful. The core of a citation to a state officer's advisory opinion consists of the same elements as to those of federal officers. However, the office name is preceded by the state abbreviation, and the opinion OP period is shifted to the end. To recapitulate, citations to agency regulations normally point to the jurisdiction's current codification, the Code of Federal Regulations or its state equivalent. When the reference is to a version no longer in effect, the citation can either direct the reader to a prior year's codification, indicating which one by a parenthetical date, or to the terms of the now outdated regulation as it was originally published. The latter is also the appropriate way to cite a regulation so recent it has not yet been codified. With federal regulations, such citations include the name or title of the regulation, the volume and page numbers at which the material appears in the Federal Register, the abbreviation of that publication, and the date of publication in parentheses. Uncodified state regulations are cited analogously. Decisions in agency adjudications are cited much the same as judicial opinions. Agency reports are cited in the format for journal articles when they appear in a regularly numbered series, and in the format for monographs when they are issued individually. The citation of executive orders and proclamations, and of Attorney General advisory opinions and their like, is straightforward. For further details on this topic, as well as some points of difference in citation practice and situations calling for a distinctive approach, go to www.law.cornell.edu/citation and review How to Cite Agency and Executive Material.